Okay. So let's say here's the Indeed. I haven't looked at find job. So if I click here, okay. So let's say if I do JavaScript here, let's see how many jobs are there. And I'm just putting San Jose. Okay. Okay. There are 3,726 jobs, which is pretty strong, right? And you would find that the salaries are also extremely high. So like 85 to 100,000 and whatnot, right? What this one is like up to one if you want to work at TikTok. If you're a little senior, you can, but you can see the starting salary is like 94,000. Okay. If I do React, there are 2,000 jobs, right? Which is quite high as well. So if you know JavaScript, right, you're automatically, that's what I'm saying, focus on JavaScript and learn all the, the basic tools around JavaScript. But then the things that React provides, you don't have to learn in JavaScript. So that's why I'm focusing on those stuff, right? If you do Angular, for example, okay, it's only 600 jobs, right? Compared to 2,000 for React. So that's why, as I said, it's pretty solid framework, and as you can see, it pays very well. Like this guy, I can see the salary is 130 to 140. If you have 2 to 3 years experience, you can easily make $150,000 in React. All right, enough about that. Yeah, so there's some new folks. So any questions? So today, let's just review what we have done last week, and then let's just take 10-15 minutes, and then we're gonna move to the new topic. Okay. So last week we looked at first of all, this CodePen environment. So those who are new, and if you want to code in JavaScript, if you want to build a website, pretty much you need HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, right? But setting it up on your computer is pretty difficult. And when you're learning something new, right? If you're provided a simple framework that lets you do that, for example, this site, then it becomes very easy, right? So here I can write HTML, I can write CSS here, and I can write JavaScript, and it would work all. So we're not going to do HTML or CSS. I'm just going to hide all of these. I'm just going to focus on JavaScript for now. So what we first learned, I can type console log, which whatever I type, the string or number, whatever, it will print it here, right? So this is how I can print. If I want to print multiple things, okay, I can just use comma. So I can have multiple variables, right? So that's how you console log it. Creating a variable requires a keyword called let and const. If I want to create a constant, some value that I don't want to change, then I would use const. Otherwise, I would just use let. So let's say that's my name, and there's a one setting that I usually apply. If I go to settings and do behavior, I usually disable the auto update from here. Okay. And that helps me. So then it won't start updating automatically as I type. Okay, because otherwise it creates a bunch of errors. And then if I want to print it now, again, I have a console log, right? So I'll just pass name here. And if I run it, So I define a variable, I assign a value, I'm passing it, I'm telling this platform to print this value, which is name, and I'm printing it, right? So this is how I can define variable and I can print it. If I want to create a constant, let's say pi is a constant, right? Let's say 3.14, that's the value, right? If I want to create a constant, I would use const instead of let. So nobody can come back and say pi equal to 2, right? Which is an invalid value. And if I run this, it will complain here, right? At this line, it would just say assignment to constant variable, which is not allowed, right? But I can change the name to blah, blah, right? And then it will not complain. And again, if you want to clear it up, you click clear here, right? And then run it. And I can print blah. Okay. So this is how we can define variable. Now we also looked at multiple types. So this is a string type, right? String usually have quotes around it. You can have single quotes. You can have double quotes. So I can use single quotes. It's valid, or I can use double quotes. It's still valid, right? But whenever you see quotes, you already know that's a string. Okay, so this is a string. And this is how you comment it. I just use double slash. So this more gets counted towards execution. And you can see it has a different color. Okay, number 1. There is no quotes around it, which means it's a number. And it's a numerical value, right? It's 1, 2, 3, it could be 1.6, or -1, 0, they're all numbers, right? So it has to be a numeric value and without quotes. If I do this, it's still a string. It's not a number because I put quotes around it, right? So this is a distinction between these two. And then the next data type is Boolean. The value of this would be true or false. So if I say true, so this is called Boolean. In JavaScript, you're going to make a lot of decisions, and you want to say if something is true or something is false. It's a black and white world, right? Because it needs to make a decision based on certain things, and that's why you would use Boolean. Okay, what's the characteristic of Boolean? It doesn't have quotes around. It's not a numerical value. It only has two values, true or false, right? If I put quotes around, it becomes a string, which is not a Boolean. Okay, and lastly, we have a empty value, which is null. So if I want a placeholder where I can say I don't know what the value would be, so I'm just gonna reserve this variable, so I can put it anything, right? Then it would be null. Okay. I want to know the type of each variable. So if I do console log, and then I would say type of, and I would pass this variable. So let's say if I pass this value, right, Boolean, and if I run this, it would say Boolean. Okay, so if I put name, it would say string, and so on and so forth. All right, so this is to recap what we learned last time in terms of data types. And these are called simple data types, which means it has only a single value. As you can see, name is one value, right? Number is a one value. Boolean is a one value. Empty, even though it's not a value, but it's still one value, right? But in life, you will experience complex things. For example, I want to know the score of Giants versus Dodgers, right? I cannot define in one value. It can be, let's say, 3/2, or it can be like a score of every single player, and it's a complex value. So for that, I need a different data structure. I cannot fit into this simple, but a lot of times you're going to be using these simple data structures. So I divided this into two categories: simple data structures. They also call this a primitive data structure. I don't know why they call it primitive. They are not prehistoric, but somehow they call it primitive. And then complex data structure is something we're going to learn today, later on. Okay, so this is a different kind of data. The next thing we learned was if and else statement, right? If and else statement, it's pretty standard for any programming language. So if you want to make some decision, if I see a red light, let's say, right? If I see, I'm just going to write in English, right? If I see a red light, then I would stop, right? Else, if I see a yellow light, then I would either stop or go, depends on, I guess, what's the situation, when did it happen, right? Else, which means these are the only three options, right? Which means I have a green light, else I will go. Okay, so this is an easiest way to explain a real life scenario where you look at the one scenario. So I want to check if it's red, then I would stop, right? I have to stop. If it's yellow, then I have to say whether I want to stop or go, depends on where I am, right? And then if it's not red or yellow, I'm just going to go, right? Which means it's a green, because there are no other options. Well, that said, there is a one option. What if its life is not working? Right? But we're not considering that case, right? But if the light is not working, which is the third scenario, then I have to have completely different situation. It's a completely different situation. So if I were to write this in coding, I have to define a variable, and I would say light equal to, and it could be red or yellow, but I'm just gonna set it as a red, for example, right? And then I would write in this exactly the same language. If I would say light equal to, you see the triple equal sign, which means I'm comparing. Single equal sign, which means I'm assigning the value, which means set the light to red. But if I use triple equal sign, which means I'm comparing the right side versus left side, right? And this would give us the Boolean, which means whether it's true or false, right? So if this is true, which means light is red, then I am going to console log, because there's no stopping, right? I'm just going to print stop. Okay. Else, if the same thing, if the light equal to yellow, then I want to console log stop or go, right? I have to make the decision. Else, console log go, right? So if I run this now, considering that the light is red, I'm just going to comment this so it doesn't interfere. And if I run this, it would say stop, right? Because what it will do is It compares this first statement and it says, oh, it's red, so it's not even gonna move here. So that's also another characteristic of if else statement, which means when it compares the first thing, it just stops after it finds it, right? If I'm looking for beer in my fridge, as soon as I find it, I'm gonna stop, right? I'm not gonna look further down, unless I'm looking for multiple of them, right? But in this case, only one. So it will not check this or check this once it finds it. But if it doesn't find, let's say, yellow, if it doesn't find here, then you have to check here, then it would print. Okay. And if we can find here, then lastly, this is the default, which means this two haven't, it's not true, which means I'm just gonna execute this regardless. Okay. So this is if and else statement. Again, for those who are new, I'm recording this, so I'll provide a link so you can go back and practice something that we learned last time. That's why I'm moving a little faster on this one. Okay. And I'll also give you a link to the last recording so you can watch it. All right. And then lastly, what we learned about is a for loop. So this is a decision making, right? In programming, there are only two things you can do. You can make decision, right? Or you can do something over and over. Okay. So if I want to do something over and over, the example would be, let's say if I want to print 1 to 100, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to say console log 1, which prints 1, then console log 2. It's ridiculous, right? I don't want to do thousands of this statement. It doesn't work. It doesn't serve my purpose. Even though it would work, it doesn't make sense. So I need a way to do this in few lines. Okay. So how can I achieve that? So what I will do.
By iterating.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I didn't realize it was a rhetorical question. I was going to say by iterating through the
numbers. Yeah, but by iterating through the values that I want, right? And when I iterate, I have two things, right? Which covers pretty much all the cases. What is the starting point, right? So if I want to do, let's say 1 to 100, my start is at 1. Where am I going to end? End at 100, right? And how many steps am I going to take, right? Is it like all one step at a time, right? Which means I'm going to print 1 and then 2 and then 3 and then 4. So that's a step. Or do I want to do 1 and then 3 and then 5? I want to skip over every other step or something like that, right? You can still do that. So that's 3 things required for you to pretty much iterate on anything. There's also a direction, which we're going to learn later on. But if I have this, it pretty much covers all the combination of iterating, right? So the way to do it, it's you want to define what's the start, right? So I would create a variable. Let's say I'm going to call it I equal to 1, right? So this is my starting point, right? So I covered my start. Then I would say, what is the condition where it will keep going? So instead of saying it ends at 100, I would say, what is the condition where I want to keep going? So I would just say, I is less than 100, or less than equal to 100, which means I do want to print 100 as well. So if I say that, that means I'm not saying it's going to end at 100. I'm just going to say if I is less than 100, keep printing, right? And then I would say I equal to I plus 1, which means after you print one number, increment by 1. So the next value would be the because I'm stepping by 1. Okay, and this is pretty important. You're going to be doing a lot of these, right? So I think it's pretty important to understand that. So if you have any question, feel free to ask. So again, I start, say I equal to 1, which is my starting point. When do I keep going? While the I is less than 100. At one point, it would go over 100 because I'm just incrementing every time, right? So if I do console log I, let's clear this. And if I run this, you see it printed all the values from 1 to 100, right? If I want to jump over every other value, then I would just say 2, run this. And now it's printing all the odd values, right? Because if I jump over, that means all the even values are gone. And I can also use some logical operator where I can say if I is 15, don't print it, right? Otherwise print something. So that's how it works. Okay. So this is what we learned last time. I usually don't do a lot of recap like this, but since a few new folks joined, so I thought it's important. Any questions so far? Okay. All right. So now let's understand string operations. And this is my favorite topic because you're going to be doing a lot of string operations, and strings are more fun, right? So let's say you have a string. And I would suggest opening a new code pen, and then I'll give you some time so you can type as well. So let's create a word called hello. Okay. Now, string operation, which means I can do a lot of things with it. What if I want to reverse this word? What if I want to split each word word by character, right? I want to split, H and E and L, pull it out, do something with it, right? I can do that. And there are lots of stuff. I can count the number of characters. They're in it, right? So if I want to, and that's the first thing you want to learn is how many characters are there. Right now you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, right? So let's create another variable called len. So to find out the length of this string, there is a provided property already. So I would have to say word dot length. And this would give me the length of this word, which is 5. So if I console log len, it would print 5. Oh, did I make, oh. Oh, TH, man. Okay. So this is how you can get grab the length of any string. To know more about it, what is possible, what I would do is I would just go right click on here and I would just say inspect. And this opens up either a separate window or it would open another console inside here. And what I'm looking for is this console here. Okay. One way to check what are all the possible things that I can use on string is I would use string with capital S. And I'll tell you in a minute why you want to do that. And then run this. Oh, sorry. Instead of log, you would say dir. And then run this. And then it would open up this inside the console. You would see lots of different functions. And inside this thing called prototype, you would see a bunch of stuff, right? Let's say if I want to make it bold, or I want to find the character at specific location. I want to, there's some of them are deprecated, which means kind of useless. The length of the one we looked at, right? This is the length. I want to repeat something. I want to search something. I want to slice it because I'm going to break the whole thing into multiple things, right? I want to find a substring within this. So if I want to find hell within the hello, I can find it. So there are a bunch of these methods that are already available. So what you have to do is, as I said, I mean, you don't even need this. You would simply say console.dir and capital string, and I run this. And then if you open the right click on on your browser and inspect, it opens up this dev tool. For some, it will be at the bottom. For some, it will be on the side. But what you want to do is a second tab, which is console. And then you would see this F string. And then you open it up, and then you see prototype, and then there are a bunch of stuff here. So try it out. I just wanted to see, I want to show you what's possible, right? What are the things that are available to you? So let's say if you get stuck and say, hey, I want to remove some spaces from the beginning or end, how do I do that, right? So for that, there is something called trim, right? So I don't have to do myself. If I just use trim, it would let me do that. Okay. So let's try it out. Let me know if you can't, if it doesn't work for you.
Sorry, what are we doing again?
Oh, so if you open the CodePen, right? CodePen.io, and inside the JavaScript area, just print this statement and then run it. Click on the run, right? Once you run it, you want to open the inspector by right-clicking on the browser, right? If it's a Chrome, then you would do it. For Firefox, it's a little different process. So if you're using different browser, let me know. And then you just inspect, and this would open up this dev tool that allows you to see things in different, more granularity, should I say? Because there's a console here at the bottom that just prints limited stuff, right? Make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. This also helps you debug stuff. This is a place where you debug stuff. Like if you get stuck, if you, just like how you do it in here, but here it doesn't help you because this is provided by CodePen, right? It is not a browser tool. And this is a browser tool. All right, so let's try a couple of things. So let's use trim, for example. So what I'm going to do is, let's create a word where I have some space in the front. Okay. You can have some space in the back as well, right? So remember, there's a method called trim. So if I want to remove this this trailing and leading space, then what I would do is I can create a word without space. Let's call it, it's a long name, but all I have to do is word dot trim, and then I would, it's a method. So I have to use this open and close parenthesis. Okay, and now if I console log this word without space, and just clear this guy here and then run this, I would get word without the space, right? Because it removed the space around it. Try this out. So this is a typical way to apply these methods. You take the string, then dot, and then name of the method, and a parenthesis. Sometimes you have to provide some parameters here, but right now, all it's doing is hey, remove the spaces around it, right? So which means I don't need any specific parameters. But we're going to look at some stuff where you need to provide something. Let's try this. And also speak up if something is not working, because I don't want you to it could be the environment that you're doing something in, or something you're typing is incorrect. So I want you to be successful in whenever you do something, right? Because if you move forward without trying it out, then it's going to be difficult for you to understand. I'm assuming it's working for everybody, which is great. Let me know if that's not true. All right, let's try
still
some
typing.
All right, okay, go ahead.
I have to go back and forth. I don't have two screens.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah, that's important. I'm glad you spoke so that because I don't want to move further without success. Coding is all about practice. One other thing you have to realize, coding is not a rocket science. It's probably once you understand how this works, it's probably the easiest thing that you've done in your life. Believe me. Yeah. Mariana asked the question. What is it?
Yeah. So in which cases would you use this word trim and not just log it in the console like the normal word?
Yeah, it's all depends on the application, right? When you are coding, you may get, I mean, this is a simple application, right? But let's say let's take the example of Facebook, for example. Somebody's need to mute. Yeah. So let's say if you look at the Facebook, right? And when you do a post or Instagram, whatever you have, right? In the box, if you
this describes the merger and find out whether or not to get any product.
Hey Z, can you mute? We can hear you. Okay. So let's say if you have a Facebook, right? And then if you go to Facebook and you're posting something, and let's say somebody leaves a few spaces in front, so they enter, and then they start typing, right? Now the space is kind of useless anyway. So when the Facebook stores that information, they know that if the spaces are in the middle, it may have some meaning, right? But if it's a trailing or leading space, which are accidentally entered, right? So you don't want to store this information. You want to store this information, right? So this is a way to sanitize things, clean it up, for example. And you'll see a lot of times you can use this to clean stuff up.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. And it's mostly called processing, right? You were given something, and then you need to process it, sanitize it, and transform it to something else, basically. Okay. Let's look at another example. Let's look at. I'm gonna see. Let's look at this pad start. Okay. What is it? I mean, it means you want to pad something in the beginning, which means if I have no idea again what it is, right? It means I want to pad my string with something else. Let's pad it with high, right? And then I can call it padded. And meaningful names are also important, right? So now if I run this, it didn't do anything. So now I thought, oh, okay, it did not work. So what does this pad start really mean? So then I'm going to Google it. So I go to Google and I would search on JavaScript pad start. And I would find multiple stuff on it, but the first one is usually good. All right, so I was almost right, but let's see. So pad start means I want to pad 0, right? So what is this 2 here? So 2 and 0, and then adds, it becomes 0, 5. Okay. So what is it? So then I would go a little bit more in definition. So I'm looking for target length. So the first is a target length. And the second is what I'm padding. So now I got the idea what that means. So what I'm going to do is go back here. And I already have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The length of this string is already 7, right? So if I want to have a target length, then let's make it 10, okay? And then I'm just going to say hi, okay, which will make this string 10 character long, and it would put hi in front somehow, okay? So then you said, okay, let's see in terms of experiment how this worked, right? So now I'm gonna clear this and run this. Oh, you see, it was a length 7. I said make it 10, and using this. But if it's only 2 character, 7 plus 2 is 9, so which means it's missing 1, right? So it added another H here, right? So if I made it 9 and then clear it and then run it, it says hi, hello. So this is a kind of a odd function that lets you add something in the beginning by making it a specific length. It's kind of weird. But you can use it the way you like it using, if you understand this function a little bit better, right? You would hardly use this function. That's why this is a bad example, but the idea is to understand if you don't know something, you can go through it. I can go through it and then I can find a function that I like. Okay. One of the useful function is called slice. Let's end this. Is it slice? No, not slice. There's a one called. Okay, let's just use slice. There is another one that I was looking for, but or split. Let's just use split. Slice cuts it, split cuts it, but equally. It's like making a sushi roll and then cutting it in equal pieces. That's split. Slice would just one slice to make it two, right? So let's use split. So if I want to use split, it's the same thing. Split. Now I don't know what to put here, right? So I'm going to go here and we're just going to look. Split. So what it does, it divides string into order list of substrings. Okay. If I look at the example, I can clearly see what's happening. So I can split by a certain string. So essentially what it's saying is, let's do this. If I have a hello world and I have a space. So what it's saying is if I do this and put a space, I can say whenever you see a space, split it there, right? And if I say something, so I have two spaces now. Okay. Split it. I don't know. That's the word. Let's look at it. What it would do. All right. You see, it split the whole string into three separate words: hello, world, and something, because I told it to split by space. Right. So it says whenever I see a space, I'm just going to cut it from there. If I see a space again, I'm going to cut it. So it's making a multiple slices, right? A split is basically multiple slices. Try this out. This is pretty useful. This is pretty useful. You're going to be doing a lot of these in certain condition, obviously.
So Professor, I didn't put the space between like in the bracket of the split, and it turns out like every single letters is splitted. So just find that's interesting.
Yeah, that's one of the cases. So which is correct. So if you don't put anything here, right? If I just do this, right? Which means I think you can just simply do this. Let me see if it works, or just put something in here. Oh, you have to put. But anyway, if I put string that doesn't have any space, which means split by character, which means each character is going to split equally. So if I do this, even the spaces, you see, everything is sliced, even the spaces, which was here.
Split is with or without a space, or is there another option?
Say it again. If without a space.
Is there any other arguments that would take? Like, so if you had the space, it separates by space. If you had punctuation, would it?
Oh, you
can
do anything. So any string. So let's do. What is it?
Well, so I did two spaces and it didn't put the commas in between. It just like locked the same sentence.
Okay, so if you did this, right? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, because it could not find two spaces
Okay.
because there are no continuous two spaces. So if you cannot
Uh-huh.
find something, then it's going to give you the same thing that you have originally.
Yeah, I was just curious because she didn't put anything, and so I was like, what happens if I do two?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it specifically finds that combination. So here I have two spaces. So I'm actually asking it to find two spaces, which you would not find anywhere. Like you can find one space, so it will spot. It would split based on that, but because of two spaces. Now I can do, let's say E, for example. So find E and then split it. So I have one E here, right? And another E here. So it would split into 4 or 3, right? This, then this, and then this. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Okay. You can also do by world. It can find world, right? So it would just split this into 2. Right? The world is removed itself because you're saying that that's how you slice it. So it's using world to slice it, which means it's not going to include that. Right? Yeah. So if you have an empty string without any space, it does by single character. So everything's going to be sliced. Otherwise, whatever you put here, whether it's a single space, double space, single character, multiple characters, it's going to look for that inside the string. And it's going to try to slice it based on that. And if it cannot find it, it will just return the whole thing back. Right? So that's how it works. All right. Any more question on this one? This is fun stuff. Okay. What if I want to reverse any word? Let's say love is the word. I want to reverse it. How do I do that? So let's go back. Is there any reverse here? R. So there is no reverse here, which means it does not have a method to reverse it. But if I do arrays, so because what is creating, because when it splits stuff, is actually creating an array. We haven't learned about arrays yet, but it's actually creating arrays. And arrays have a method called reverse, where it will take the first element and it would put it in the last position and then last in the first position, and so on and so forth, right? So if I want to reverse something, what I will do is I would split it by every single character, right? And then if I run this, I would get, LOVE split by every single character, right? Then I would take that array and I would take the splitted array and reverse it. And there is a reverse method on the array, not on the string. And then if I look at the reverse, now I'm getting a reverse. So EVOL, but it's still giving me array, right? But I want a string back. So I'm just going to say, I want to join it back to a string. So then I would take the reversed array, and it has a method called join. Again, when you join it, if I just put an empty string, which means join every single character, because it needs to know what you need to put in between, right? If I don't want to put anything in between, I'm just going to say join. And if I run this, oh, I need to print joined, not reversed. I run this now, it will first split by every character, then it reverse, then it joins it, joins it again, and now I got the reversed word called evol. So that's how you reverse something. And those who want to learn something advanced, you can actually chain this, which means reversed equal to, first you take the word, then you split it by providing an empty string. Then whatever resulted, you can apply reverse, then you join in one line. And if you run this, it will do the same thing. Now this would be reversed. Okay. So this is called chaining, which means I am taking the result of first whatever I'm getting and applying the method, and then again getting that result and applying the method, right? This is more clear, but if you're advanced, you can just apply this. It's pretty neat. So yeah, try this out.
So you just use a period to connect all your values every
Yes,
time? Like if I have.
Yes. So it's called dot notation. So what is a dot notation? Dot is basically whatever the value. So the word, for example, is think of as an object, right? And it has some methods, which means if I look at all of these stuff is available inside for the word. And if I want to access one of these methods, then I have to use the dot operator. So if I say word dot, let's say bold, it will make it bold, right? So dot operator, it basically provides access to this method, right? So when I call split, it gives me an array. Remember with all the characters split, right? That array has, which is an array which has a different sets of the methods. And you don't need to know what they are, just simply say dot and use one of this method. And that would give me another array, which is reversed, and it has a method called join. And when I call, so dot operator is nothing but accessing that method on that variable. That's what it means.
Okay, thank you.
So Professor, what if I wanna, because I'm split the whole sentence, it's originally with the space, and after I reverse and then join together, there's no space. So is there a function to add the space back?
Yes. So let's say if I have hello world, right? So instead of reversing every character, I want to reverse the words. So the final is supposed to be, let's say, world hello, something like this, right? So if I want to do something like this, then I would first split by space, right? Then it would give me hello and then world, right? Because it was split by this. When I reverse it, then it becomes world hello, and then I join it. When I join it, I want to join by space again, right? So let's run this. And then I would get the world hello.
Oh, I see.
Right. So you have to think, you see, using this thing, you can do a lot of things. You just have to, whatever you want to achieve, you can just use one of these methods. So first, just do things manually. And that's how I always tell my students. If I wanna from here to here, what I want to achieve is this to this, right? Then I would say, okay, how do I do this? So first of all, I would need to split this into two, right? So I would need to do this, hello, and then I would need world, right? Which means if I split, I would get this, right, by space. Now I need to reverse it, right? Because I'm reversing the word. So reversing would do this, right? So then I would get the world and hello like this, right? And then I want to put them back together with a space in between, right? So I would use join again. So always do stuff manually before using any code, right? This gives you a vision of what to use. All right. Again, I think somebody joined just a few minutes ago. It was in the middle, so I didn't say hello, but is it Miko? How do you pronounce your name? Miko?
It's Miko.
Miko? Okay. Yeah, welcome, Miko. So yeah, I know you joined the middle. So if you wanna try this out, you can go to this website called codepen.io. I'm just gonna put this in the chat. Okay, and then there are 3 sections. Just hide the other 2 by dragging. You can just drag. Well, first of all, you have to create a new pen. So if you once you go there, there's a button called new pen. If you click on it, it opens up a new pen like this, and then you hide the CSS and HTML part. And then also, let's do that. Hold on for you, since you were came in the middle, it could be confusing. So if I go to the code pen, and I would click on the pen, so it opens a new pen. And then what I would do, I would just hide HTML, and I would hide the CSS. And what I will do, also click on the console. This opens this console up, and you just drag it up here. And now anything you type here, so if I do console log, let's say test, right? It will execute this, and it will print the test here. One of the things you want to do is go into settings, and then behavior, and disable the auto update by saving this here.
Okay.
So this way, what happens is that as you type, it doesn't constantly compiling you. It will give you an option to, it will give you this run button. So if I change something like, and then it won't execute, you have to run it. If you click here, and then it would execute, right? So it would change. So that's what you want to do. Okay. Any question on this one?
No, I'm good.
Okay, cool. All right. So yeah, we are looking into some JavaScript fundamentals. One of the stuff we are learning is string operations. So to quickly, if you have a given string, something like this, hello world, I can split it into multiple values, substrings, should I call it, right? If I provide an empty space, one space, it's going to look for that space here, and it's going to split by that space. So here I have one split space, which means it's going to split this into two values, right? It'll make an array with two values. And then array has a method called reverse. So if I use dot reverse, it's going to reverse it. So it will, the first become last, last become first, right? And then join would join it back, because that's an array, it's not a string. So if you join it back, it creates another string with, it concats those two strings, right? But then you need to provide some, what you want to join by, right? So if I say $, right, it's going to put $sign in between, because I'm joining by dollar. Oh, did I? Oh, yeah, this do I have to remove? Okay, so you can see world $sign hello. So whatever you join by, it will insert that character in between those stuff that you were joining. Okay. So, okay, so that's a string operations. And you know, there are lots of other string operations that you can learn, but I think for now, you know, this 3 or 4 that we learned is pretty important. We learned the split. We learned the padding, which you probably pad start, we're probably never going to use, but don't worry about it. You can, we learned the trim, where you can remove the trailing and leading spaces from the array or from the string. We looked at the length, so you can find the length of the array. So you have all these methods to you know, to your disposal. You can use whichever way you like, and then there's some that are deprecated. So if you're confused, let me know. I'll let you know which one are useful. I usually use, you know, the split is pretty important. Reverse is, as I said, it's actually on an array and not on a string, right? Because this gives you an array. A substring is pretty important. Trim I use a lot. Then index of is pretty important. Let's look at index of, or includes also important. So let's say if I'm looking for something inside the word, I'm looking for O, for example. So what do I need to know? If I find O, I want to look at where exactly this O is located. So index. So if you think of this array, it has, you know, it starts with H. So let's consider it as a 0th index. This is the first, second, third, and fourth. So O is located at the 4th index. So what I would do is let index equal to word, and then remember dot and index of. Okay, and I'm looking for a specific character, right? So I'm just going to say O, which means find this O inside this and give me where it's located. That's what it means. So if I console log index, it should give me, no, it should give me where this O is located. But if you have more than one O, well, let's just first see what it would do. Right, so as I said, it's going to give me 4. Index always starts from 0. So the H is 0, E is the first index, L to 2, 3, and then O is 4th. Right. So index of gives you the first occurrence of that specific character that you're looking for. I can also say WO, which means find me this particular, right? So this would be what? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Right? Any question on this one? This is also pretty important when you're looking for something. If I want to look for, because there's 2 O's, so it always gives me first O. I think it has another method called last index of.
Oh, can you try with something that doesn't exist? Well,
Yeah. So let's say blah. So when you try something that doesn't exist, it will give you -1 because if something exists, it's because it's going to be from between 0 to infinite, right? Could be or to the length of that that word or the line, right? But if something that doesn't exist, then it gives you -1. But that's an important question, right? So it gave you -1. So if you get a -1, that you know that this doesn't exist inside. It's still numeric, but it's negative, which means it's not there.
Is there a reason it's -1 and not like undefined or?
Yeah, so we are expecting a number. So that's why it want to give you a number. So -1 is a number, but it's not, see, the index always starts from 0, right? So there is no minus index. So they decided, I guess, to use -1. So it's an easier way to do it because if you're expecting number and if you get undefined, then you have to convert that into something. So -1 kind of serves the purpose. So you can simply say, I can, if I want to say, let's say, if index equal to -1, right? Then I can say console log can't find, right? Else I would say so can't find, but if I just put O and run this, oh, I put 0, not O. Okay, found at 4. So so you can make a decision like this. If this was like undefined, if it would give you undefined, you can still do it, right? But I think they decided to choose -1 for whatever reason, because it's a number. Okay. If you look at the spec on index of, which I can just go here again and then right. It may give you multiple things. It has a multiple arguments. So sometimes you see, if I'm looking for bison here, and this is an array, and it also works for an array. So I'm looking for a bison here, right? So it gives me 1 because 0 and 1, it found it, right? But there's another bison at the end of it. So if I'm looking for this bison, then I would say, hey, you know what? Start from camel here, and then look for it. So I would ignore this bison. We can do the same thing here. So if I'm looking for this O and not this, then I already know this O is what, 4, right? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to start from 5. So if I just start from 5, then it will ignore this O and it would look for the next O, which is the one after one in the world, right? Found at 7. So the second argument is pretty important. If you don't provide the second argument, it always looks from the front. But if you provide a second argument, it starts looking from that character, which is fifth character. So 0, the first one, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you want to start from fifth if I'm looking for this O. Another way to find out if it exists inside, if you do a split by that character, and if you get the same word back, you already know it doesn't have it, right? So that's another way to do it. If I want to know how many O's are there, right? I can split it, and it would give me 3 pieces. So if you give me 3 pieces, then there are two O's inside, right? Because it would give me hell, then W, and RLD if I split it. And based on that, I can say, if it gives me 1 piece, which is the whole thing, which means it doesn't have it. If it gives me 2, which means there is a 1. If it gives me 3, which means I have 2 of them, right? So split is also a good indicator. If I just want to find out how many O's are there in it, I can just split it, and then I can say, how many pieces did it give me? -1 is the answer, right? So programming is all about these small tricks that you can apply to your code. And you know, if you think of Google, for example, right? When you type something in Google, it within like few milliseconds even, right? It gives you, I don't know how many results, right? Millions of results. And then the reason they're doing it is their engineers know all these tricks. So if I want to find something within something, there is a way, there's a amazing way to find it, right? If this was let's say a million, the length of this string, well, let's say was 1 million, right? If I want to find something inside, it will take time, right? Because if I click here, it's pretty fast because it has to look for this thing. You know, these methods, they're actually looking for stuff inside. So if it's 1 million length, then it has to go and look for that, right? So there are actually ways to cut that down into just 5 or 6 search, even if it's 1 million length, right? And that's how, you know, these algorithms are so smart. It knows exactly how to do things. And not only this string, it can store, you know, Google is, I don't know how many strings there will be, right? Everything that you ever written is inside that Google, and it can find it within few milliseconds. That's the power, right? So it's pretty complex, but it uses this kind of tricks to do that. Okay. All right, any question on this one? Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is type conversion. So converting one type to another. So if I was given a string, okay, so Mariana has to go. Yeah, okay. If I have a string, let's say my name, right? I want to convert into a number. It doesn't even make sense, right? So this to string to number doesn't make sense. Unless it was this, right? Then I can convert into a string, number, then it makes sense. So you can, if I want to convert string to a number, one way to do it is, there's something called constructor, which is capital number with the capital N, And if I pass anything, it will try to convert into a number. And so now if I console log it, it says, okay, this is a number. So it identifies a number and it will convert it. And I get a number, right? Oftentimes you have to do it to at least check if it's a number or not. But if I have something like this, right, which is not a number, even though it has a part number in it, see what it does. It gives you something called NaN. NaN means not a number. So it's way of telling you that it's not a number. Similarly, you can convert string to a Boolean. So this one would give you a number or not a number. Okay, so it will give you actual value or a type which is not a number. If I want to convert it Boolean, it's the same thing. I would say Boolean. Remember, it's a capital B. And I would pass a string here. So does it really make sense to convert into Boolean? So I have some number, let's say some string, random string. What does it have to do with the Boolean or not, right? So what JavaScript says, okay, I want to convert it, you want to convert into Boolean. I'm just going to use my logic to see if the string is there or not, which means if it's an empty string, if empty, equal to true, else false. Oh, sorry. Empty is false, else true. So it doesn't matter what value is. It's going to give you true if it's not an empty string. So if I use Boolean, which is pretty straightforward. So it doesn't matter what I put in here. It will give me true. Basically, it's checking whether the string is empty or not. That's all it is, right? But if I don't put anything inside, then it's going to give me false. Okay. So this is straightforward. So string to number, if it's a number kind of string, then it will give you a number. Otherwise, it will give you NaN. If it's an empty string, then it will give you Boolean. If you're trying to convert it into true or false, right? So this is how you convert string to something else, right? What about the other way around? I'm just going to leave it here for those who are still working on it. Let's say if I have a number. Converting string is pretty simple, right? It just puts a quotes around it. That's all it does. So if I want to convert it into string, I would use a string and then pass number inside. And then if I console log this, I would get, basically just puts quotes around it. That's it. It's pretty simple. If I want to get it Boolean, so how would this work? It's the same thing it's going to look for, whether it's empty or not. So if I have a number that is non-zero, then it's going to give me true. If it's a 0, it's going to give me false. That's it. So because I have a number, it's going to give me true. If I have a 0, then it's going to give me false. Right? So this is number to string or Boolean. Okay. What about converting Boolean to string or number? It's pretty straightforward. True, it's gonna give you true string, which means quotes around it, right? False is all the same thing. It would give you false with quotes around it. Number, true means 1, false is 0. So let's try this. Let bool equal to, let's say, true. Now, if I want to convert it to a string, then I would say let string equal to Boolean. And I would pass this and again, it's gonna do the same thing. It's just gonna put quotes around it. The string conversion is pretty simple. I just put quotes around it. That's it. Here, because it doesn't show quotes, you're not gonna see it, but it is a string type. It's not a Boolean type anymore. But if I want to convert into number, number, then it's gonna, if it's a true, then it's gonna convert into 1. If it's false, then it's gonna convert into 0. Right? Because number, it just, 1 and 0, right? Because Boolean. So true. And for false, it's going to give you, oh, not string, number. Okay, let's try this out. I'm going to grab some water. Meanwhile, you guys can try this out. All right, so any question on this one? Okay. So I wanted to get most of the type related stuff out of the way. So the last thing we want to learn is the logical operators, right? The logical operators are, and or. So if you in mathematics, you have and or operators, right? So the same thing here, you have logical operators where you deal with the Booleans. Okay, so let's do that. So let's say if I have a A equal to true, and I have a B equal to also true. And means they both have to be true to be, if we Google it, let's say logical, I forgot to call operator, or I wanted to show the and an or operator. There used to be a nice chart. Someone must have built it. It's too mathematical. But basically, if I look for images, I think sometimes images. Okay, let's look at this one. This is the one I grew up with. Not that I was playing with it when I was going. This is what I learned in school. So think of the zeros and ones, right? So 0 means false, 1 means true. If you and operator means they both have to be true for something to be true, right? So if you look at here, right, when A and B both are 1, the outcome is 1. Otherwise, it's 0. So either both are 0, then it's 0. And if any of these value is 0, then it's still 0. So in order for end to be true, both value must be true. So if I do, and the end operator is basically A, and I would use end and B, which means if they are both true, then the C is true. Otherwise, it's false. And this is pretty important. I mean, it may not look very important, but I tell you the truth, it's you're going to be doing a lot of things in a logical sense. And I give you an interesting example. Let's say you have a logic. Let's say if you building Facebook, right? And you're looking for a friend who likes horror movie. So first of all, it's going to go look for friends, all the friends, right? And then it's going to look for people who you know who like horror movies, right? And then you need to pick something that where that person, for all of the things that you have, those they both have to be true. They have to be a friend and they have to like the horror movies, right? So this is called AND operator. Okay, so these are called logical operators. So it works in that, in that sense. It's there everywhere. If you notice, in your switch, in a switches, sometimes you have these operators built in. in your phone, a lot of things are based on that, right? If this and this are true, then this is true. Otherwise, it's false. Okay, so this is very important. What about OR operator? Let's call it and call A, and then you would use a pipe operator. B. So OR is not completely opposite, but this is OR. So if both, oh, this is an AND. Okay, if both are right here, oh, this is an AND and we don't need showing here. Anyway, if both are true, if any of them is true, if A is true or B is true, then the OR is true. Right? Here they both have to be true. Here, at least one of them has to be true for this to be true. So the only common thing between this is if they're both false, then it's false. And if they're both true, then it's true. And that's a common theme for these. But when one of them is true, this is true, but this is not, because and they both have to be true, right? So let's look at different combinations. So and I'm just going to put and or both together. So in this case, they both are true. So they and or both going to be true, right? As I said, this is the common between the two of them. They both are true. If both are false, then they're both false, right? But if one of them is true, then and is going to be false, but or is true, because it's or, which means either this has to be true or that has to be true, and it is both have to be true. So then it's conflicting. Now, any question on this one? Yeah, we're going to be using this a lot, actually. Okay. All right. So we have last few minutes. I'm going to at least get started with the arrays. So we have covered pretty much anything with the primitive data types. You know, how to define them, what are the different types, how to convert, you know, between types. We also learned about string operations, right? And then the logical operators. So the next thing we're gonna go is learn arrays. Now, so far we have looked at this very simple data types, but let's say if you want to do, if you have a shopping bag, right? Bag can have eggs. Obviously, this is grocery shopping. It's a Corona time, so this is all we can do. You have eggs. You have, you know, what else? Milk, right? And cherry. Okay. So the way to define an array is these are strings, as you can see, they're comma separated, and then you put the square brackets around it. What does it really mean? think of your bag, right? In a way, you have a shopping bag, and then a bag has something kind of like order, right? So whatever first thing you put in, it goes in the bottom, right? And then you put something on the top, and there's something on the top, and then it gets full. So the last thing you put was the first thing. Last thing you put is the top. What you have on the top is the last thing you put, right? So that's how the arrays also work, right? So the eggs are at the actually bottom. So if you look at the left side, it's actually the bottom, and then the right side is the top, right? And you can do a lot of things with arrays, right? You can put things inside, you can grab it, you can say, find me the second item here, right? Or empty the array. It's a good data structure to store simple things, right? It's like your grocery list, or things that doesn't have properties in a way, right? So if I were to say I want 2 eggs, 3 cartons of milk, and 50 grams of cherry, defining this in a simple array would be difficult. But if I were just a simple list of saying, I need some eggs, some milk, some cherries, this is a simple way of defining. Because the other kind, I'll show you how to do it. It's called objects, where you can say, I have 2 eggs, they're green, or whatever you want to put, right? So you can do that as well. But this is a simple array.
Is class in at 6 or 7 today?
6. So we have 10 minutes, 8 more minutes. Yeah. Typically, I think I think after 2 or 3 classes, I will, because we are going through a lot of basics, right? But once the class is full running, right, where we're building the games and stuff like that, I can stay 1 more hour late, like up to 7 or so. So up to 6 we go lecture, because I think more than 2 hour of this kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, sorry.
It's it can be a little bit overwhelming. So after 6 o'clock, 6 to 7, we can look at the, those who want to work on individual problems, or show their progress, or whatever they want to do, right? So we can do that way. But for now, it's 4 to 6 is the lecture, and then I think after 4th or 5th class, once we start building some games, simple games, we can utilize 6 to 7 slot for anything that you guys want to do. Okay. So yeah, so this is a simple introduction to our next class. We're gonna look at a little bit more in detail how to add things to arrays, how to remove things from the array, how to add at the top of the array, at the bottom of the array, and things like that. Also iterating to array as well. Okay. I also created a homework. I think a couple things I added, probably not going to apply, but route the portal. Oops, I've probably logged out. But okay, I'm gonna put this homework. So let's just look through it, and I'm just gonna put it on a Discord. I already put it on Peralta, the canvas, basically. But it's a simple homework because it's a first homework. If you have any question, feel free to, ping me on the Discord. Those who are not in Discord, and any of you are not in Discord, let me know. Can you put not on Discord in a chat if you are not in Discord, so I can provide access. Okay, it's important that you get on it so that any kind of a constant communication that you want, like if you are coding something and and then you feel like you suddenly are blocked because you can think outside. If you want a question, you can just ping me on Discord. usually it's on my phone. I can just quickly answer you, right? Not always, but I can answer you within a reasonable amount of time, because I don't check Canvas on a daily basis. Okay, NASA is not there. Okay, let me.
How do we submit this?
You can. So I already put it on the Canvas. So what you should do is go and create a code pen, right? So the stuff we've been doing on a pen, right? So if you once you do something like this, right? And then what I'll do, I'll go here. If I go here, so let's say if this is my homework, right? And I can just do homework. What is today's date? September 8th, right? September 8th or something like that, right? And then put your name. And then it will, once you do that, you see this URL, you just send this URL to me. But you have to be logged in to do that. I think if you're not logged in, it'll still give you URL, but I don't know. I would not know who you are. So yeah, I would suggest, create an account with them. So this way you can save all of these work on your side, and you can also refer to it when you need it. And so just copy this link and then put it in the Canvas. That's it.
Okay, thank you.
All right. And let me give you, I'm just going to log into Discord. So I'm just going to stop sharing for a minute and give you a link. Okay, so okay, I put the Discord link in the chat. So those who have not joined, please do that. So let me quickly go through it. So the first question is pretty simple. You have 3 numbers, find the maximum. You can use the if and else statement to do that, and then just print it using console log. So it could be something like max equal to 50, min equal to 3. Okay. Second thing we learned today, remember the for loop? You want to print three series, right? So there'll be like 3 different for loops. Just pay attention here. There's 6 missing here. There's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6 missing. So you have to do some logical operation in between within the for loop as well, right? Same thing here is there's 1 number missing here, like 7 here, right? This one it's every 5th number. So think of how to do that one. This one I would, so this is actually I was gonna cover arrays, but if you already know this, do it. If you don't know how to do the array, that's fine. You can skip this one. And then the other ones are the one that we learn about, the string operations, right? So it's pretty simple example. It's pretty simple homework. Yeah, I think you should be able to finish it within an hour or so maximum. All right. And then this class is focused, as I say, the main objective of this class is, learn the scripting and then maybe build some games, right? At the end, which is a product in a way. And that's where, you should spend most of the time once you because learning these methods, yeah, it helps you understand how it works, but I want you to think about, like, if I want to solve a problem, what can I do with it, right? And that you can do it when you build a game. So yeah, and if you have any question on homework, just ping me there. Those who are new to the Discord, I have multiple channels within that. So the general, if you have any general question that you want everybody to know, just put it in here. I'll post the homework here as well. Also on it's on the canvas anyway. If you're looking for schedule and Zoom, I have that information here just in case if you suddenly don't remember the email or you want to go to Canvas for look for that. And this is where I would post the video recording. So today's recording I'll post probably by end of today or tomorrow. So you just want to check it out. Okay, so those who were late or did not attend the last class, you might want to check this out. All right. Any last questions before we close? All right. So yeah, as I said, practice a lot and ask lots of questions. Be curious. Okay. Coding is all about being curious and practicing. And I think I've seen it also. A lot of non-coders can become a coder within a year or so, and then make really big in this Silicon Valley. And this is JavaScript and React. They are the hottest technology right now. As I said, there are over 3,000 jobs that are available. So by probability, you could, if you're reasonably good, you can really get a job within a couple of months, and it's high paying job also, over 100,000. Yeah. So, and if you're much higher level, you can make up Facebook front-end engineers who does React. Some of them make up to $300,000 to $400,000. I'm not kidding you. That's because they also get stock options and other perks, so which can grow really fast. But in terms of base pay, a lot of them probably making between 150 to 200,000. So just to give you an idea of what is the potential if you can learn. And as I said, React is not a rocket science. You will learn more. You will enjoy React more once those who are taking first time. You would learn React more than this raw JavaScript stuff, even though it's a JavaScript, but it's more constrained JavaScript and it's much more finer. So as I said, it's like a Lego, right? JavaScript is more like a silly putty or a sand, should I say. It's a little harder to learn, but React is pretty easy if you master it, basically. Okay, so yeah, it's 6 o'clock. I'll let you go, and see you next Wednesday.
Thank you.
Bye.
Professor. Professor.
Hey, Nasa.
Hi, how are you?
Hey, so I talked to Justin today also. I think he was
Okay.
not able to. Let me check what he said.
It's not able to add class, or
Let me see what he did. So I think he was also having a similar issue with some other student. So he said, and I think it's still okay to join. I mean, it's still okay for him to enroll you.
okay.
I don't have access to all. I mean, he's a main professor of this class. I am more like a visiting professor. So he has more access. So I asked him, to create a code for you. And, he told me that he will do it in a day or two, but I haven't heard from him, even though today I also remind him that you specifically need it. Right. So, let me again, I'll talk to him again and then make sure that you get added. But I would suggest, assume that you are added. I think it's not full. The class is not full. It's it's actually under the total amount of kids, right? So maybe there's something going on. I have no idea. So don't worry about it. Let me let remind him again today. I reminded this morning, but let me talk to him tomorrow again to see where he at in that sense. Right.
So can I keep continuing this class? So is it okay?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
I'm confusing.
No. Yeah, that's fine. You can keep taking this class. That's fine. Anyway, it's just getting knowledge. It's
okay. Thank you.
I would not, even if you're not in the class, you can still. That should be fine. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So also, do you know the 4A class, the Zoom link? So actually, I don't know who is the professor.
Who? Which
4A? MM4A.
I think they're both the same. I think it's one is the theory and one. So the class is split into three or two. One is I think what they call it.
It's 4A.
Lab. What's the code number? Is it my class?
No, it's MM4A. It's social marketing.
Social marketing.
Yeah, the code is 40377.
Okay. All right. Okay. Let me find out. 4A.
So I don't know the Zoom link. So
okay. Yeah. So yeah, so you're registered for that one, right? Already?
No.
So which class are you registered for right now?
Only one class is 171.
171. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Okay. So what I'll do is, okay, just wait till tomorrow. Again, I'll keep just keep reminding me anyway. But I'll keep pinging him.
Okay.
Okay. And then you only want to register with 152, right now. And then for other one also. Okay, social. Okay.
Yeah, once I need to enroll 162 and 4A.
4A. Okay, got it. Okay, sounds good.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
See you, Professor.
See you. Bye.